Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and what we're going to do today, in my typical fashion, as we get real close to the end now, is I made a list of all the little things that we need to get done before we can call this build done. So, like I said, I do have a list, and one by one we're going to go through these things, and I'll show you what we're doing, and how we're doing it, and in some instances, why we're doing it. So, if you want to see what those are, please stick around. So the first item on our list is the door. We want to get the door sealed. We do have some butyl tape around the door that we placed probably about a month ago or so, and it's oozed out about as much as it's going to ooze. So what we want to do is get rid of all this excess butyl tape around, and then in my typical fashion we're going to go ahead and mask everything off, and then we'll put in our ProFlex, and then we will install our drip rail around this. So I have a pretty thin putty knife, and all I'm going to do is just go around this edge. I'm not digging into the side. I just want to clean up this edge a little bit. Get off as much of this excess as I can, and then once all that's complete, we'll take some acetone, wipe that real good. We'll put our masking tape around here, and then we'll go ahead and set our ProFlex, and I'll show you how we'll do that, and we'll get that sealed up before we put on the drip rail. So let me go ahead and get this all cleaned up, and we'll start masking it off. Alright, so we're cleaned up pretty well. So I'm just going to take a little bit of acetone, and we are going to just go around this edge just a little bit, just to clean up any excess butyl tape that's laying around on the top of our metal. Nice. Okay, now that we are cleaned up, we've got our butyl tape trimmed off pretty good. We wiped her down with some acetone. Now I'm just going to use some tape. We're going to go around and go ahead and mask all this off. And once all that's done, then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And then we'll spread our ProFlex. Okay, just a real quick masking job around here. And I've got about, 1/8 of an inch or so showing all the way around. So now we'll get ready to spread our ProFlex. Yep, I think it's ready. And I'm using a white, so we'll just put a little bead in here. We'll pull that around, clean it up nice and neat, and then we'll be ready for our rain gutter. Alright, so I'm going to keep a paper towel handy, and we are going to just put a little bead in here, and we're just going to do little sections at a time. This stuff kind of air dries pretty quick, so we don't want to go all the way around and not give ourselves enough time to spread our ProFlex. So we're going to go ahead and bead this in there. Alright, now that we got a little bead in there, we're going to go ahead and take our credit card or whatever tool you want to use, and we are going to go ahead and we're going to angle that just a bit, pull that around, and then come back, lay it flat, give ourselves a nice little bead. Alright, let me give you a shot of that, and then I'll finish it up and show you what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so that gives us a nice, clean, small bead. When we pull off that tape, That's going to look so good. Good. So let me go ahead and go around and finish this up, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and we will peel the tape off. Alright, time to start peeling off some tape. Let's see how well we did. Well, I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I do have a nice seal all the way around this edge, and that's going to work very well. So once that is all set up, which I'll probably leave overnight, then we'll come back with a little paper towel, wet it down in some mineral spirits, and go around and wipe, and that'll clean off any residue that may be on the metal and smooth things out and do exactly what we want to do. Make it nice and clean and pretty looking like. So that's one side finished, top and bottom, all the way around. And it doesn't take that long to mask things off and get that ProFlex in there. So that's going to seal that edge real nice and good like. And then, like I said, we'll come back with our drip rail and we'll get that in place, and we'll be done with the doors. So I still have one more side to do, and I'll do that off camera. And then once that's on and we get things wiped down, then I'll show you the drip rail. Alright, so when you order the doors, they do come with a aluminum gutter for the top, which snaps into place, and then you would fasten it with a couple of screws here on top. And but I don't think I'm going to use that. I'm going to use something a little different. They do have a couple little screw holes here on the side, and I'll show you what I'm going to use and tell you why I'm going to use the stuff that I plan on using. Let's take a look. So the same material that I used around the sides of the camper here by the hatch to keep the rain from washing up and maybe entering into the cabin, we're going to use this trim lock. It's an RV drip rail, and it is a PVC rubber, sort of, with an adhesive backing on it. Now, I installed this over the window on the 6x12 trailer that I built, and it's been a couple years and that hasn't budged. And it's been out in all kind of weather, so rain, heat, snow, yeah, you name it. So this is what we're going to put around the door. So I'll show you how I plan to install this thing. We'll take a few measurements so we kind of get it even all the way around, and why I choose this over the gutter. So with this aluminum gutter, that was set in place and pretty much snap onto place. And these holes somewhat line up with the holes that are already in. No, actually they don't line up. And that's one of the reasons I don't like using these. So I would have to actually drill a couple more holes, 4 holes to be exact, to fasten that on. Which you can put some caulking in there, but you got a 1/2 inch gap, so the screw's going to go in before it even touches the caulking. And if any water got in behind there, well, I just don't want to chance it. They look nice, they fit well, and if you use the right kind of screws, black-headed screws, I'm sure that it would look just as well. But we are going to use our RV trim lock here to put around this top edge, and that will fit against and curve against the top of our trim, just like so. I like that. And it's going to come down a lot farther. If I had longer pieces, I would probably bring this down to near the bottom, so we have a nice channel for any water to run down and not blow into the cabin if you're driving down the road in some driving rain. But I don't have long enough pieces, so the piece I had I cut in half, and I have just enough to go around and probably come down about 1 foot on each side, and that's how we're going to install it. So I just kind of need to figure out where the center is, put it on that edge, and we'll start fastening this on. So before we put this on, we're going to take a little rag and some acetone, and we're going to clean this surface up because we want some good adhesion. I don't have any accelerator or the promoter that they would normally use to wipe on here to get that to really stick, but I had pretty good luck with the acetone on the other trailer, so I think that's what I'm going to use. In the event it ever falls off or fails, I still have my aluminum gutters that I can always attach and still serve the same purpose. So let's get some measurements, put that on, and then we can do the other side, and then we can put our trim on the front facing here, covering all of our screw holes. We'll be done. So let's get that installed. Alright, I think we're ready to put it on. So I did wipe down with some acetone and found the center of my door and the center of my drip rail. So I just put a straight edge on the sides, marked it, measured the distance in between, found the center, call it good. Then did the same way with my trim, just kind of measured from each end, found the center, we're ready to go. And I peeled back the center piece here. So we're going to go ahead and put that in place and make sure my pieces are back a little bit. And I'm going to call that good like that. Alright, and we'll slowly peel off one side here and start putting this in place where it needs to be. Now it's not really stuck until you like really put some pressure on it. So once we get it in place, we'll press it down real good, and then we'll take a roller and we'll roll that nice and neat and make sure it's stuck. So we'll just go ahead and keep peeling this back and get this around this edge here. Yeah, I'm liking that. Yeah, and that fits really good around those corners. It's easy to bend, stick in place. Yep. Like I said, pressure, and we'll make sure we get that rolled out. So let's get this other side piece here on, and then we'll roll it out. Take a look at it, then we'll get the trim on, and then we do the other side. I'll give you a shot when I'm done. So as you can see, we've got a nice seal around that edge. Butts up against the frame. It squares off. So that's going to be our drip rail, and it's going to work really well. So we'll go ahead and put our insert around this edge, and we'll take a look at that. Then we'll have one side left to do, and we can call the doors done. So I'm going to be using some narrow trim insert, and we're going to put a seam right here on the bottom. And this is going to be a little tricky because this is a little bit narrower, but we're going to fold this a little bit just to get things started, and then we can move it around once it's in place. And I'm going to drop the bottom in first and then push down and try to get that top in there. Alright, we got it started. So I'm going to go ahead and run this around, and once I get it installed, we'll get another shot, see what it looks like. Alright, now that we get down to the seam here, we're just going to do a little bit of trimming, and and hopefully we get it in the right place. Good seam. Alright, let's take a look at it. So there's our little seam right here, and got a nice trim. Little screw cover is basically all it is. Although it's water resistant, it is not waterproof, so if any water does get in here, it's gonna leak down that track, and that's why you want to have the seam here at the bottom, so any water that does come in can trickle out. If you start here at the bottom and put the seam at the top, you have a chance of pulling up some water down here in the bottom, which is undesirable. So that side is done, and I wish we had the room to show you what it really looks like. Once we get it outside, we'll take a look at it, but I have one more side left to do, and that turned out really well. So we sealed around the edges with Proflex, we put our rain gutter on, and then last but not least, we put our trim insert in, and it looks pretty doggone good. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to work out really good. Alright, so let me do the other side, and then we will probably pull this out because there's a couple other little things I need to do, and we'll take a look at it. Alright, so we have both doors are now finished. We've got our drip rail going around the top, and we also have our inserts covering our screws. So the doors are complete. If I had to do it over again, I wish I had longer pieces, because I think I would have went all the way around the whole door. One, it would keep water from going this way, getting into the hinges, and two, any splash comes up, well, keep that water from going in there. But as it is, I had just enough to do the top half of the doors on both sides, and I'm going to call that good. So later on we'll see if I need to remove this and get one full piece, and we'll go around the whole thing. I think it would look good with a piece all the way around. Okay, next task. Alright, so the next little item on my list is probably some support here on the back of the refrigerator. So the first trip I made when I got the trailer weighed, it did move a little bit, bounced around and slid back. So I want to keep it right here. So I'm just going to make a couple of little supports, 1/2 inch thick, a couple inches long, maybe 4 inches, 2 of those, and we'll fasten those behind the refrigerator, and that'll keep things from sliding around and just kind of moving a little bit. And I've got plenty of room, so let me cut those little blocks and I'll show you what I'm doing. Alright, so I had a piece of this 1/2 inch black HDPE, just plastic. Anyway, I cut a couple pieces about 4 inches long, and put them in here behind the cooler. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill a couple of holes on these. I'll remove the fridge, and then I'll fasten it down, and we put the fridge in, and that'll be locked in place, so it won't be bouncing around and going anywhere. So let's go ahead and get that locked in. Alright, now we got our blocks installed. Let's see how well we did. Good. I have about 30 seconds of a little bit of movement in there, and we are in like Filon. Good. That's gonna work pretty good. Next task. Alright, so our next task is we have an insert that runs from the hurricane hinge all the way around to the back of the trailer. Now while the insert trim is water resistant, it's not waterproof, so water can get inside and run down through the channel and lay in the bottom. And what we don't want is water to get in there and seep in any screw heads. That's why it's important to make sure to seal up all the screws when you place those in. So on the bottom, about every 4 to 6 inches, I'm going to take a drill and I'm going to tap into the insert to make some like weep holes. That way, if any water does get into the channel, it'll have a way to escape. So we don't want water laying in there. So that's our next task. I'm going to go ahead and get under here. We'll punch a few holes. I'll show you what I'm doing after I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. How's that? And that shouldn't take very long. Probably about 12 holes on each side should do it. We'll call that good. Alright, so if we are looking under the trailer here, and so I drilled my holes, little weep holes there, and like I said, I put them about 6 inches apart or so, and that should allow any water to weep out if any water actually got into that drip rail or the trim. So any water that comes in, it's going to come down and hopefully just drain out. So I did that to both sides, and we're going to call that good. Okay, we've got one more little task to complete, and then I think we can take this out and take the plastic off. I've kind of been wanting to do that. So we've taken care of the doors. We put around our ProFlex. We also put our drip rail around that, and then I went underneath on the insert trim and put all my little weep holes, which I think are going to help in case water gets down in there. I also climbed under the trailer and snipped off all the wire ties, straightened that up a little bit, secured that, so that is good. Next little thing that we have to do is finish our little box right here. We're going to go ahead and get that varnished, and once that's finished, then we're going to pull this thing out and unwrap it. Starting to look good already. I'll finish that up and we'll get a shot of it when it's complete. Then we'll move on. Okay, she's nice and dry. Let's go ahead and button this thing up. Then we'll get it outside. There you are. Then we'll get it outside. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait just a little bit. It decided to rain on me. Ooh, wind picking up. Nice and breezy. All right, we'll see if this passes by and before we pull the trailer out. Not doing it in this mess. Thunder and lightning too, so hang tight. Alright, we got a little break in the weather, so we're going to pull this thing out and do what I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that's peel off all this plastic. We'll get the plastic off and then we'll give it a nice rinse down, get all this garage dust off of it, and check for leaks. I don't think I'll have any leaks. For the hatch, what I did is I did a light leak test. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. Which means I set camera inside, closed the hatch, took an intense light and went around all the edges, and the only place that light came in is just like everyone else experiences, is right here on this hurricane hinge on this edge. So I don't expect it to leak, but if any water does come in, it's going to be on these sides here on the hurricane hinge until I figure out how to seal those up. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out, take that plastic off, give it a wash down, see what it looks like. Last but not least, nice. Alright, now the big test. Did we get any water on the inside? Yep, I got one drop right there. And I knew that it's coming through here. So I need to figure a way to seal that, and then we'll be pretty much watertight. But of course, I was spraying directly into it, so I kind of expected that. Nice. And no other leaks anywhere else. Right on, right on, right on. Success. Alright, two more places to check to make sure that we didn't have any water leaks, and that would be inside here on the door. And everything is looking dry. Oh yeah, nice and dry. You see no water in this edge or anything, so pretty happy with that. Let's check out the other side. Well, make sure we didn't get any leaks up in here. I don't see anything. And no water on the bed. Let's check the other side. Oh yeah, nice and dry. Good deal. Alright, I'm happy with that. Alright, I think we're going to call that a wrap for this video. So we did get a lot accomplished, and I marked off a couple of things on my list. So I think I might have 2 or 3 items left on the list before we are officially finished. So if you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up, hit that little bell notification, subscribe, and make sure you get those next videos coming up. And if you would like the plans for the trailer, description on telling you how to get the plans are in the description below the video. And if that doesn't work, you can always email me and I'll send you a link and you'll be good to go. So yeah, it's come a long ways and I'm getting excited. I do have a couple of trips planned, and we'll be taking you along. So until next time, when we get together and we kind of wrap this thing up, stay tuned.